we aren't really like the other gaming news channels, okay? We like to be a little silly sometimes, a little goofy, a little quirky. And we're obsessed with horses. They're so fast. EA wants to use generative AI to develop games and make users spend more money. According to statements made by the company's CEO, Andrew Wilson, they believe 60% of development processes could be impacted by AI. Wilson said the company can become 30% more efficient using AI, a statement he made after EA recently laid off 670 people. However, Wilson claims that the remaining devs are excited about AI because it will help them get to the fun faster. We just had to cut off all that dead weight first.
Excited, terrified, either way your heart rate's up.
Wilson's comments aren't exactly that surprising, considering that a year ago, he said AI will lead to job losses. In an earnings call last May, Wilson said that, like the agricultural and industrial revolutions, there will be a displacement of the workforce in the short term. While he also stated at the time that job opportunities will increase in the long term, he also claims now that AI can increase EA's player base by 50% and microtransaction spending by 20% over the next 5 years, which is just something we want as a society, through personalization and culturalization of content.
Those new players? Unemployed former EA workers.
Get some of that severance back. And those working opportunities he was talking about may not even be paid, since Wilson believes in the future, 3 billion players around the world will use EA's own AI tools to enhance the universes EA creates in a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for the company. It's the classic billion-dollar speedrun strat. Unpaid labor. Yay!
Yeah!
The branding sounds like the scream I feel inside. Speaking of controversial stories, Sweet Baby Inc., a narrative and consultation company, has blown up online after a Steam user was called out by some of its employees for curating a list of games Sweet Baby was hired to work on. The curator specifically marked these games as not recommended due to the involvement of Sweet Baby Inc. As the curator seems to allege, the company prioritizes diversity over story quality. In response, at least one Sweet Baby Inc. employee encouraged Twitter to mass flag the personal Steam account of the curator in question, a move that I personally label as not recommended. Detractors of Sweet Baby Inc. have pointed to comments made by co-founder Kim Belair at 2019's Game Developers Conference, where she advised developers to terrify their marketing teams as a tactic to get more diversity in games.
Boo! Women!
Ah! Throw some more women in there. Meanwhile, several game studios, at least some of whom have hired Sweet Baby Inc. to work on their games, have come out in defense of the consultant firm. Director of Alan Wake 2, Kyle Rowley, denied that Sweet Baby was the reason the character Saga Anderson was portrayed as black after an earlier incarnation from 2016's Quantum Break was white. Indie dev Rami Ismail pointed out that consultant work is advisory and consultancy positions are easily eliminated. Mary Kenny, associate narrative director at Insomniac Games, stated in a Twitter thread that narrative consultants do not get the final say. Indeed, Belair herself told a story during her GDC talk about how the developers of a dating simulator actually did the opposite of what she recommended, removing a line implying an abusive relationship entirely instead of expanding on it. In more recent statements, Belair has claimed that her work isn't exclusively based on her own identity or driven by a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda, describing her contributions to Spider-Man as story work rather than adding pride flags. That's the other consultancy firm, and that's all they do is just add flags. Your game doesn't have a single flag in it. Canceled. What about Ecuador? Xbox's partner preview event premiered yesterday, and there were some awesome announcements. The Sinking City 2 will release next year after developer Frogware's years-long legal battle over ownership of the original. On top of that, Xbox surprise launched the original trilogy of Stalker games, so you can prepare yourself for this year's release of the fourth game in the series, Stalker 2.
Can they count over in Ukraine?
We got a date reveal for the launch of Frostpunk 2, the announcement of Sleight of Hand, a stylish stealth deck builder, and also learned that Chucky the Killer Doll is coming to an adult-focused horror game called Griefville that only exists inside Roblox, the child-focused virtual playground. This story is throwing me for a loop. In addition, there was the huge announcement of an expansion pass for Persona 3 Reload, and it's a bit controversial, at least to Jacob, who wrote this part. 3 DLCs will be released for the game, but the first 2 are just costumes and music based on other Persona games. I can get mad about that. The final DLC will add additional story content that was included in the FES edition of the original game. However, the DLC does not include the female protagonist option from Persona 3 Portable, excluding the different character interactions that added to the original game. Also, sometimes you just don't want to play as man with blue bowl cut.
Boo, bowl cut.
Now it's time for Quick Bits, brought to you by Delete Me, the guardians of your online privacy. Ever Googled yourself and been horrified by the amount of your own personal info floating around? Well, fear not. Delete Me is here to rescue you from the clutches of online exposure. With the help of their team of experts and good old technology, they'll swiftly erase your info from sketchy people-searching websites, saving you from potential headaches and identity theft. Delete Me will even keep you informed with personalized privacy reports, so you can see exactly what they've scrubbed from the web. Ready to reclaim your privacy? Head over to joindeleteme.com/GameLinked and use code GameLinked for an exclusive 20% discount.
GameLinked.
GameLinked. Quick Bits is the smallest possible name for the 5 shorter stories at the end of the video. The only other thing we could do is do a portmanteau and call it quits, and that's something Quick Bits never do. Helldivers 2 players were having the most fun in gaming until developer Arrowhead dropped the game's first balance patch, which may have been named that as a joke. Among other changes, the patch made the game's railgun and breaker shotgun harder to use, leading to a flood of complaints from divers who apparently thought spreading democracy was gonna be as cozy as basic training. This is war, son!
Hoorah!
Why don't you go crying home to mama? The debate over the game's balance has gotten so heated that Arrowhead boss Johan Pilestedt had to step in to apologize for comments made by a developer and a mod on the game's official Discord. Hopefully, cooler heads prevail and players manage to liberate planet Tien Quan, at which point it's believed that playable mechs will be added to the game by Joel, Helldivers Game Master. Or maybe not. Joel wills what he wilt.
All hail Joel.
Praise be to Joel. Veteran production company Rooster Teeth is being shut down by parent company Warner Brothers due to fundamental shifts in consumer behavior and monetization across digital media platforms. RT is probably best known for parody machinima series Red vs. Blue, but has since produced a massive amount of web shows, podcasts, games, and even movies. At least 150 employees will be affected, alongside an unknown number of contractors, but apparently, much of RT's content may live on in some way. The shutdown is part of a larger strategy shift from Warner Brothers, whose gaming chief poked his head out of the company's churning amorphous mass to say that their future strategy is to focus on large franchises, live service games, and mobile titles. You know, the good stuff. This new focus apparently includes delisting an unknown number of indie games published through Adult Swim, such as Small Radio's Big Televisions, whose creator has responded by making it freely available to download rather than allowing it to be memory hold. He's a real one for that. Ghost of Tsushima, originally released in 2020 on PS4, is finally seeing a PC release on the 16th of May, and it's currently the 8th game on Steam's top seller list based solely on pre-orders. The PC version is based off the game's 2021 director's cut and is being handled by Nixes, a studio well known for its top-notch PC ports. For those who didn't get to play Ghost of Tsushima the first time around, it's a bit like what Assassin's Creed would be if Ubisoft actually knew what quadruple A meant.
Doesn't mean anything, Ubisoft.
That's the secret. Everyone else knows that, but not Ubisoft. Nintendo's lawsuit against the creators of the Yuzu Switch emulator has sent ripples through the emulation community. The Discord for the Ryujinx Switch emulator briefly stopped accepting invites after being overwhelmed by the exodus from the Yuzu Discord. Meanwhile, a popular Steam Deck Discord server has shuttered its whole emulation channel out of fear of potential legal repercussions. And Exophase, the developer of the Nintendo DS emulator Drastic, made the app free on Android and then plans to take the emulator down. It's like Yuzu got Suzu'd and now everyone is less enthused. Okay. And roguelike, poker-like game Balatro has sold 500,000 copies across various platforms in 10 days, despite being pulled from the Nintendo Switch due to gambling concerns. On March 1st, the European age rating for the game suddenly changed from 3+ to 18+ due to the belief that it contains prominent gambling imagery and material that instructs about gambling. Sounds reasonable. While the game features poker mechanics, it does not include any type of wagering, nor does it actually teach players how poker really works. Fortunately, the Steam, PS5, and Xbox versions are unaffected, so users can still enjoy a poker deck building game that has surprisingly little to do with poker.
And if you miss the gambling elements, just set some money on fire.
Just go find another person who wants to make bad decisions. And it would be surprising to us if you don't come back on Tuesday for more gaming news. I mean, look at you. You look like you're starving for gaming news. We make a fresh batch twice a week. You've gotta have some, sweetie. I won't take no for an answer.